Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is August the 14th. Today's a Thursday. Today we do have core PPI along with unemployment here in about 30 minutes. So we'll go over some charts and then we'll wait for PPI to develop our game plan coming into today. As for the overall indices themselves, we end up having a nice pop right at market open, but for the SPY, we came all the way back down in towards our previous day highs, and that's where you can see the buyers stepped in. A little bit of divergence between the SPY and Qs as well, which we'll talk about. Before we do that, good morning. What's up, everyone? What's up, KO? Mod, what's up, Richard, Jeff, D, Hardtick, what's up, B Roots, Ryan, JT, good morning, Non Tolly, what's up, MD, what's up, Mozzie, Robert, Josh, Martin, Chris, Monty, what's up, Juan, Vate, Victor, good morning, Wayne, Candy, I am, yeah, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Let's really hop into the charts. Let's first start off on the major indices. Let me actually pull up the economic calendar here as well before we do that. So as you can see, coming into today, what we do have is core PPI. That's a very major news event that we have coming to the market. That's going to be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we do have unemployment here as well. That's also at 8:30. And then we have Trump speaking later into today as well. That's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As for some other news events later into the week, core retail sales tomorrow. And then we also have prelim that is going to be the consumer sentiment, which is going to be very important. So we have red folder news today. We'll wait for 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to develop our game plan, and then tomorrow core retail sales right in the morning, and then 30 minutes after morning we have the prelim consumer sentiment. All right. Let's first talk about the major indices. Let's talk about the SPY. So as you can see, for the key levels on this name, what I do have is really your previous all-time highs along with your previous day highs here as well. So it's a very key level here for the SPY. You can see right off the bat yesterday, nice push towards the upside, but ultimately came back down in towards your previous day highs. You can see this is where the buyers started stepping in. Right off our 642.50. You can see a nice kind of bounce here on the SPY, bouncing back up and towards the 645 here now. So for the SPY coming into today, key levels, we have your previous day lows marked out. We also have a key level that we broke down from yesterday, which is going to be your 645. What I like to see now for any sort of upside is going to be the reclaim back above your 645 for this continued push back up and towards your previous day highs and above. If we end up rejecting off this area, we can just have a mean reversion back inside its range, which is going to be its previous kind of level between your 640-250 along with this 645. So back in towards this 644. If we look at the QQQ, you can see the divergence between these two tickers where SPY found some buyers off your previous day highs. You can see that the QQQ didn't really have a bounce coming into yesterday's close. So currently we're just sticking right around your 580 key psych level, which in this case is your Tuesday's highs. So what we'd like to see here for the Qs is to really maintain above your 580 if you want to see any sort of continued pushback towards the upside. As for the SPY, you can see it's a little bit more bullish than the Qs just based off yesterday's bounce. If we look at the ES here on the higher time frames, you can see currently we're just bouncing right in key areas. So this is your previous all-time highs that we have marked out. This was the exact level that we wanted to see SPY hold yesterday here as well. You can see a nice break above. We're so far holding it, right? We're retesting this on the higher time frame. So as long as you can maintain above your 6,470, that's going to be key for the overall market. So based off the higher time frames, if you can maintain above this level, I will keep looking for continuation back towards the upside. If we ultimately break underneath your 6,470, I'm going to be a little bit more bearish intraday, but that's only if price can get underneath this key level, which is going to be that 6,470. So that's the level I have. Previous day lows coming into today. Other levels I'm going to have marked out as well is just going to be kind of your pivot level that we had from yesterday, which is going to be this sorry, 6492. If we're able to reclaim it back above this level, we can be looking for this continued push back up and towards your previous day highs here and above. If we look at the NQ chart, key levels that we have are on the NQ is all the way back down in towards that 23,800, and then we also have marked out your Tuesday's highs, which is your 23,950. So for the NQ coming into today, what I would like to see is a reclaim and a hold back above your 23,950. If we can now break back above, hold above this level, we can see this potential continued push back towards the upside. The only way I'm leaning a little bit more bearish is if we break underneath this level, break underneath your previous day lows, hold underneath this level, then I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the downside. So key levels is going to be this 23,950 here on the NQ. For the ES, you have your previous day lows that we like to see maintained for continuation, along with this 6492. And then for the SPY chart that we have your previous day low, same thing, along with your 645. And then QQQ, really the primary level is just going to be your Tuesday's highs, 580 here on the higher time frames. All right, now let's go on to some of the names that we're looking for here on the tech side. Nvidia is still consolidating, so I still like Nvidia quite a bit. I'm only interested if we can break above or below this box that we have created. So we've basically been consolidating here for the past 5 days on Nvidia. If we zoom in here, as you can see, just we're stuck in between your 184 along with this 179.50. We can just draw the box, right? This is the high of the range. We have the low of the range, which we've had multiple touches here as well. Until we're able to break above or break below, you just be looking for mean reversions at the high and low. So for Nvidia, what I personally like to see is the break above 184, and then we're going to be looking for the hold above your 184 for this continued pushback towards the upside. If you're looking for downside, it's the exact opposite. You want to see the close below the low of the range, 180, hold underneath, and then use this as a retest for this continued pushback lower. As for Nvidia, I'm still leaning more towards the upside just because you can see, right, higher lows are being built. We haven't broke structure as of yet. So until price can tip a 10, which is going to be the break above or break below, we're just going to be a little bit more patient on this one until Nvidia really shows relative strength or relative weakness. But key level, that's why we have the alert set. It's going to be this 184 here on this ticker. Sooner or later, this is going to have a nice move to either side. We're just waiting for this one to break out. As for AMD, this one, nice push towards the upside yesterday to take out a key level here on the higher time frame. So for AMD, right off the bat, we're already above your earnings high. And you can see nice push all the way back up and towards this 185.30, which is a very key pivot level all the way back from July the 31st. Which was about half a month ago. So for AMD, nice push towards the upside. You can see multiple upper wicks. So now this is going to be the brand new level 185 if you want to see more continuation. As for AMD, came all the way back down in towards that 179. Nice hold above that 179. And you can see nice little mean reversion back towards the upside. Key levels now for AMD is just going to be this 185. So if you do want to see some more upside on the overall markets and along with AMD as well, we like to see it maintain above your 185, hold above that level for this continued push back towards the upside. So 185 is going to be key for AMD coming into today. This one's still fairly bullish here just based off of this week's price action. So as long as you can maintain your 179, we like to see two scenarios. Right, either the bounce still off that 179, or it's going to be the potential trade up in towards your previous day highs and above, which is going to be that 185. Either scenario is good. I'd like to see scenario number 2, which is essentially just consolidation or the push back up in towards your 185 and above. So those are the levels we're going to have marked out for AMD. As for Apple, so Apple and AMD were primarily the only two tickers that showed some strength yesterday. As for Apple, nice push above your previous day highs along with your last week's highs as well. We talked about this one yesterday. If you can get above your 230.50, we can see a potential move towards the upside just based off the higher time frames. This is really the only ticker that was showing somewhat strength yesterday, so we were able to get above your high that we created on Tuesday, and then we end up using this level nicely as a retest for this pushback towards the upside. As for Apple coming into today, the key levels that I'm going to have marked out is going to be your previous day high. So we can mark out your previous day highs. You can see this is your pre-market level here as well. So what I like to see for Apple, if you want to see any sort of continuation back towards the upside, you can see we have a couple levels above. Above really now your 235, you have your 235.50. And then it's all the way back up and towards your 238 and above. So what I like to see here on Apple is if we can break above your previous day highs and hold above your previous day highs, the next level above is going to be your 236 along with this 238 here on the higher time frame. So that's what we have for Apple coming into today. As long as you maintain now, it's going to be above your 230.50. I'm still bullish here on the higher time frame. So that's what we have for Apple. As for Tesla, another one where we end up gravitating up and towards our this week's highs, which was our Monday's key pivot level. You can see a little bit of reaction off that general area. And now we're just gravitating back inside the range that we have for this week. So if we're drawing out the high of the week along with the low of the week, you can see we're just kind of right in the middle here for Tesla. I personally like to see for longs above your 346. That's going to be the best key level. Another level that you could potentially reclaim now is going to be this 343. But for Tesla, not as bullish on this one. Higher time frame still looks really good just because we're above your 334. But this one's consolidating a little bit more now. So it's going to have to show some strength intraday, which is going to be number one, right? The reclaim back above your 343, preferably if you can get back above your 346, that's going to look good as well here on the higher time frame. So that's what we have on this ticker. We also have right the low of the range, which is your previous day lows, right? 338 here on Tesla. As for Google, key levels that we have marked out on Google is your 205. What I want to see is a potential break above your Tuesday's highs for a move up and towards your all-time highs. This one kind of just rejected your previous day highs right off the bat, and we also had news later into the day. This one it still looks really good in my opinion for continuation higher. So if we just zoom up a little bit here on Google, all dips are getting bought up. This is just your down close candle being marked out. You can see price broke above. Actually retesting here on the daily time frame. The next logical level on Google is going to be a push back up and towards your all-time high. So I will keep an eye out on this one, at least for continuation towards your all-time highs key level. Big wick right down in towards your 198.97, which is your higher time frame key level. Now what we like to see here on Google is the reclaim back above your 203. If you can reclaim back above your 203, I like to see this push back up in towards your 205 here on Google. So that's going to be the key reclaim that you like to see, 203.44. As for a few other tickers, Microsoft, not too much. Key level is your 532, which we ended up rejecting off of, and now we're continuing back towards the downside. Most likely now we're going to get a little bit of a deeper retracement back towards your 518 here on the higher time frames. As for Meta, another one where it was not able to get above your Tuesday's highs, and you can see just a little bit of reaction. Now we're pulling back here. So we're unable to get above this 794, little bit of reaction coming to market open. Now what we like to see is really the reclaim back above your 784 for any sort of pushback towards the upside, or it's going to be a potential mean reversion. If we do reject off this level, we're going to see a push all the way back down in towards your 774. And then for a few other tickers here, Amazon actually showing some nice strength here in the pre-market so far. You can see at least on the higher time frames holding above this 220. What I'd like to see here for Amazon is now really the break above your 226 and hold above that level for any sort of continued pushback towards the upside. This is your last week's highs. Very key point here as well from earnings. So if you can get above this key level, we can see a little bit more continuation back towards the upside here on Amazon. So we'll keep an eye out on this 226. We have an alert set here on Amazon. And then for the rest of the names, not doing too much. Netflix, a little bit of reaction off this 1236. All right. So coming into today, as I mentioned, we do have core PPI along with unemployment here in about 15 minutes. So we'll just wait for that to develop my game plan coming into today. But as for my basically a very brief game plan, it definitely could change before, definitely could change after core PPI, but it's just going to be the hold above your 580. And then for the SPY, it's going to be the reaction that we have off your 642.71 now along with this 645. As for my top watches coming to today, it's still going to be Nvidia, right? This is a soft top watch, only if it shows some strength coming into market open or it breaks underneath your 179. It's just one of those where I only have alerts set. So I'm not too interested unless it can show strength within like the first 5 to 10 minutes. So that's what we have for Nvidia. I'm still looking at this one just because we've been consolidating. Higher time frame looks good here as well, since we are still building up higher lows. When we do finally get that break to either side, this is going to present a nice opportunity. So for Nvidia, eventually if we do get that break above your 184, be on watch for a continuation towards the upside, or even if we break underneath your 180, I think this could present a nice opportunity towards the downside just because we've been consolidating. So that's what we have for Nvidia. And then for AMD, what I like to see now is going to be the break above your 185. Another one where I've essentially a soft top watch coming to today. If we can break above your 185, then we'll be looking for a continuation above your 185 for a pushback towards the upside. And then Apple, similar thing. If you can break above your 235 previous day highs, hold for this push up and towards the highs. And then for Tesla, not as interested unless it shows something coming to market open, just a lot more consolidation coming into this week. And then for the rest of the tickers, similar thing, just a little bit more consolidation. So we'll see what shapes up here with core PPI and unemployment. That is in about 12 minutes. So we'll just wait for that. If you guys do have any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat. I'll go over some tickers for the next 10 minutes and then I'll develop my game plan coming into today. Yeah, if you guys do have any tickers now, you guys can drop them in the chat or any charts you'd like me to go over. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop me a like. If you guys do have, what else? Yeah, if you guys haven't joined the watch list as well, that one is in the description below. All right, let me check out this chat. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Let's go over some names here. Why did you consider the body close as 238 as a target, high on Apple and not the wick high? I'm just going to mark up both, so I can mark up the body and the wick. If I go back onto Apple, you can mark up both. Right, so I have the wick marked out. Sorry, if I have the body marked out, and then you can also have the wick marked out here, which I can mark out all the way up and towards your 240.80. It's just very far away, so that would be the first target to come, and then the wicks after. Okay, so for HIMS, this one, finally finding some buyers here off your 46.97, which as you can see is essentially the low of the range, multiple touches. So finding some buyers here off this 47 key psych level. A little bit of buyers are stepping in on HIMS. What you need to see if you want to see any sort of continue push higher is now going to be the reclaim back above 49. So far, you can see most pops have just been shorted. So until we're able to get back above your 49, you want to be a little bit more cautious and you can expect most pops to be shorted. So that's what we have for HIMS. Not really too much to talk about. Overall market dropping, some bad news that we had with earnings, CO selling. This one, if we look at this on the higher time frames, this is the exact level of support. The higher time frames isn't as clear the past 20 to 40 sessions, but for HIMS now, you really like to see kind of buyers step in off this 46 key psych level. If we're not able to step in, the next logical level is going to be all the way back down in towards our 40. So we like to see buyers step in right off this 46 here on this ticker. As for Hood, so a couple of these names kind of pulling back here with the overall market now after that gap up. You can see the Qs is a lot weaker than the SPY as I mentioned. So with the QQQ, you can see pulled back down in towards our previous day highs, which was our key level. But now we're just consolidating around this general area, which is our 580, whereas SPY ended up having a nice bounce off of your previous day highs. So it made it a little bit of a trickier session yesterday just because of the divergence that we had between these two indices. Whenever that happens, that means the SPY is definitely the best one to trade towards upside. And then you have the Qs, and then you have a couple tech names, but these tech names are kind of laggy behind. The best time to trade is when we have a couple of these tech names that are leading the overall market back towards the upside. But the name that I was on was Hood. Key level that we have is your previous kind of earnings pivot high. So for the key levels that we have, which is your 113, it also does seem like we had news here as well. Drop from the S&P 500. It wasn't even included. So for Hood, the key level that we have is your 113. This was the exact level markets had to hold if you want to see any sort of continuation towards the upside. Right off the bat, showing relative weakness, broke underneath your Tuesday's lows, and that's why you can see we ended up having a pretty big push towards the downside. Next logical level was our 111, and then all the way down in towards that 107. So for Hood now, key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be this 107 previous day lows, and then we can also have marked out now, it's going to be this 111. If you do want to see some upside, you're going to have to reclaim back above your 111. If you want to see some downside, you could be looking for a potential pop and fade off 111 for this pushback towards the downside. So that's what we have here. 111 along with this 108. Let's see. Amazon showing some strength here in the pre-market. Yes. Yesterday status for A plus, but didn't really work out. Yeah, some names. I think AMD was definitely the one that had potential continuation just based off of the news plus higher time frames. There wasn't too much yesterday. The momentum was definitely a little bit slower just because the overall indices themselves was dropping. So it made it for any sort of long setups a little bit more difficult. As for Reddit, yeah, really strong push all the way back up and towards your all-time high. So once we had earnings, we mentioned the next logical level was your all-time highs, and we're actually all the way back above that level. So Reddit, nice push towards the upside here. Now we're above your all-time high. So this is the level we can just have marked out. So we have here your 230 on the higher time frames. If we now go back onto the 15-minute chart, that's going to be your key level coming into today. What you like to see is now Reddit just maintain above 230. Above 230, we can see continuation towards the upside. For marking out other levels here, we can now mark out your previous day highs, which is going to be your new all-time highs. 237.34. We can also mark out this down close candle right here, which is going to be your 15-minute order block that we can drag over. So for Reddit, we like to really see it maintain above your 233 for this push back up and towards your 237. All right, we do have about 6 minutes until core PPI here. Let's see, Google and Google, what's the difference between Class A and Class C? A lot of traders trade Google. Yeah, they're basically the exact same thing. They're just different classes of shares, but it's basically the exact same thing when you're trading. All right, let me scroll down here. Markets are open. Right now, it's currently the pre-market. Markets open at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As for PayPal, this one had earnings not too long ago. What I would like to see is this earnings reversal setup here on PayPal. Key levels that we have marked out is going to be this right here, which is that earnings low that we have created. In this case, it is our essentially 70.50. So you can see touch here, multiple touches, another touch on PayPal. What we like to see a reclaim back above that earnings low for this continued push towards upside. So key level coming to today is going to be your 760. As for Palantir, key levels that we have marked out on Palantir is our 188. So we had your Tuesday's highs marked out along with your last week's key pivot level. Palantir right off the bat broke underneath this, and then you can see end up using this as a retest towards the downside. Key level now is all the way your back down in towards your 184. So more consolidation coming to this week. As you can see, if we're just looking at this week's price action, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this one just kind of right inside the middle of the range. So key levels you're going to have marked out, previous day lows, and then for upside, now it's going to have to reclaim back above this 188. This looks similar to Tesla here if we're just looking at this week's price action. Only names that have higher time frame trends and nice moves coming to this week: AMD, Apple, and then also potentially Nvidia still. Obviously, this one's consolidating, but if you can get above that 184. Let's look at some other names here. How does PPI affect the crypto markets? It primarily is just for the major indices. So whenever we have these big red folder news events, it's primarily for the major indices themselves, right? SPY, Qs, the NASDAQ, and the ES. And a lot of times the ES and the major indices kind of moves in tandem with now the crypto market. So it'll affect it, not like a crazy amount, but it'll also affect it as well. As for MSTR, key levels that we have marked out is our 388 key level here that we'd like to see the reaction on MSTR. If you do want to see any sort of upside reclaim back above this 388, other levels that we can have marked out now is going to be your previous day lows, which is going to be this 384. If we can break underneath your 384, potentially you can see a little bit more downside. As for hood, yeah, went over this one. SOFI pushing up nicely here as well. Key levels that we have, at least on the daily chart, you can see the daily candle is trying to hold above this 2360. That's the key level for me on SOFI, which in this case is your Tuesday's high. So I personally like to see SOFI maintain above this level if you want to see any sort of continued push back towards the upside here on this ticker. All right, let me scroll down here. Let's see, grab, someone's mentioning that. Yeah, not really too much to talk about. This one's just consolidating. You have this earnings gap back towards the upside, which is just back up and towards your 526. So very small earnings gap that we can expect to fill back towards the upside, right? 526 key level. If you can get above that, then the next level is right 535 and above. As for Oracle, yeah, a lot more consolidation. So a couple of these names kind of slowing down here, at least on the higher time frames as well. You can see nice kind of base, right? Continuation higher, right? Still bullish here on the higher time frames, but just a lot more consolidation now in the past 5 to 10 days. Now we're gravitating down in towards the low of the range, it's 240. So this is essentially the higher time frame key level that we'd like to see it maintain if we do want to see continuation towards upside. So for Oracle, what we can have marked out, I'm going to mark out this general area down close candles we bounced from here last time as well, which is going to be your 240. So buyers, you like to kind of step in, right? Potentially have a reversal off this 240 for this pushback towards the highs. Yeah, I mean, let me go over Ethereum here as well, since this one is finally breaking out, and we actually also hit finally your all-time highs, or very close back up and towards your all-time high. So for Ethereum, right, break above key levels. We finally broke above this key pivot level here as well. Next logical level back up and towards your all-time highs, which is your 4863. So you can see once we broke above this level, which is a very key pivot point where we have multiple rejections off of. Now you can see nice trend towards the upside. We can expect it now to hit all-time high. So that's going to be the first key level that you like to see that major reaction off of. As for now, key levels that you're going to have marked out, you can go into the 1 hour chart, mark out down close candles. I'm actually going to mark out this one, which is going to be your 1 hour order block. You can see a nice little touch here. Now for Ethereum, you can see every single dip being bought out. What you just like to see is now this push up and towards your all-time highs. All right, we have about 20 seconds here until core PPI. So let me just go on to the major indices. We'll see the reaction I have off the major indices, and then we will develop our game plan coming into today. All right. All right, so PPI numbers just came in. As you can see, the market overall dropping currently came in greater than forecasted. Forecasted was 0.2%, and now you can see came in 0.9%. So it came in higher than expected. And now you can see the market's overall dropping. As for unemployment, basically came in line with expectations. So with the overall core PPI currently pushing the market down, you can see that it's actually still in my opinion, bullish here on the higher time frames as long as you can hold key levels. So the key levels I have marked out, let me just refine my key levels, is now going to be this 23,800 along with this previous all-time highs. And then for the ES, what I like to see is it really still maintain above your previous all-time highs along with your previous day lows, which is going to be this 6468. So if you can still hold this level, you can kind of make this double bottom here on the ES reverse back towards the upside. If we do break underneath here on the ES, then I'm going to flip a little bit more bearish, at least intraday, and potentially here on the higher time frame. So for the ES key levels today, fairly clear. It's still going to be this 6468. For the NQ, what we have now is going to be this 23,940. We can actually refine our levels here as well. We're kind of just dipping right back down in towards this previous key pivot point, which is going to be this old high all the way back from July the 31st. So for the NQ coming into today, what I'd like to see is the reaction that we have off your previous all-time highs, 23,840 along with this 23,800. As for downside, I'm personally only interested in downside if it shows a lot of relative weakness and if the SPY can get underneath this 642.50. So the game plan coming to today for the overall indices is the reaction that we have off your previous day lows here on SPY, right? I like the SPY chart a little bit better just because a lot more cleaner compared to the QQQ. So what I'm going to be looking for is a reaction that we have off of your 642.50. If we can bounce off this level, we can be looking for a potential mean reversion back towards the upside here on the SPY. Only way I'm interested in downside, as I mentioned, is if you consolidate, break underneath your 642.50, hold underneath your 642.50, and we continue lower. That's when I'm going to be interested in shorts. If we consolidate, break underneath, retest, continuation towards the downside, right? So that's what we have for SPY. And then the QQQ key level that I actually have marked out is all the way back down in towards your 577. So the QQQ in this case, a little bit weaker than the overall markets. I do expect it to most likely gravitate down in towards this 577. So this is our key level here on the higher time frames, and this is kind of the first initial reaction. So if price can come down, we'll see if buyers try and step in off this 577. At least for other levels that I have marked out here on the QQQ is going to be your previous day lows, 578.97. So far, pretty big drop. Now for the NQ, yeah, it's going to come all the way back down. So that's what we have currently, and we'll see if ES is actually going to break underneath your previous day lows here in the pre-market as well. So pretty big reaction on the overall market so far, at least within the first 3 minutes. So we'll see, at least on the major indices, how it'll shape up coming into today, right? We still have about an hour until market opens. And with this first initial reaction kind of dropping the overall markets, we'll see now the reaction that we have off your previous day lows. So at least for the tech names that I'm looking at coming into today. So my game plan's changed a little bit now, just based off of the PPI that we had in the overall markets. As for Nvidia, key level still is going to be this 179 along with this 184, right? So we'd like to see the reaction that we have off of the low of the range, which is going to be this 179. It does seem like if we look for any sort of upside today, it's going to be looking for a potential bounce play or reversal instead of continuation. So for Nvidia, we'll keep an eye out on this 179.50. As for AMD, higher time frame still looks good here. Since we are above your Monday's highs, we can keep an eye out on a potential kind of bounce play off your 179 here on AMD. As for Apple, key levels that we have marked out, similar thing is going to be this 230.50. Also, we also have marked out your 235. So the key levels, I don't really have any key levels. As your previous day lows, previous day highs, you can also draw out equilibrium, which is going to be this 232.50. I don't really have any key levels, so we'll just base it off of intraday price action. As for Tesla, this one, potentially, if it could break underneath your previous day lows, I might be interested in a potential short back down in towards your this week's lows. So for Tesla coming today, showing a little bit of relative weakness, breaking underneath your previous day lows, potential short underneath your 338 is in play for a push down in towards your 334. So we'll keep an eye out on Tesla. As for a couple names, at least on the tech side, that I'm interested to short, maybe Microsoft. I'm not really interested in too much. So whenever we have these dips on the overall indices, these, in my opinion, at least on the higher time frames, we're just going to be looking to buy the strongest names. So once the market does bounce, right, the names with relative strength are going to be the ones that lead the market back towards the upside. As for Microsoft here, key levels that we can have marked out is essentially just going to be your previous day lows, where we have multiple touches. Now, if you can break underneath your 520, we could be looking for continuation down in towards your 518 here and below. And then as for Meta, a little bit of a mean reversion. Amazon kind of rejecting off your 226. And then for Netflix, showing a little bit of weaker price action here, rejecting off this 1236 along with this 1200. So for the overall market, I actually don't see too many good looking short setups here. Potentially Nvidia or Tesla if it shows a little bit more weakness coming to market open. As for the QQQ overall, right, the QQQ is very weak here. You can see dropping well underneath their previous day lows, but there's not too many tech names that are actually showing as much weakness as the overall indices themselves. So for the QQQ, you can see now we're just right back down in towards our Monday's highs. So we'd like to see if there's any sort of reaction here. This is a very big candle. So most likely now the next shorting opportunity is going to be underneath your 576 for continuation lower. So this is your Monday's highs. I do expect a little bit of buyers to step in off this level. As for shorts now, there's either one of two things. We're going to look for this long position off your Monday's highs for this pushback towards the upside, looking for this bounce play, or if we're looking for shorts underneath now your Monday's highs, underneath this key pivot point here as well for this potential pushback towards the downside. So this is going to be our key level, 23,800. For the ES, key level is going to be this 6468. SPY key level, previous day lows, 642. For the QQQ, it's going to be this 576.73. So those are the levels that we have marked out on the major indices coming into today. As for some of the top watches, Nvidia, potentially the reaction that we have off your 179.50 right now. Currently, I don't really have any higher time frame thesis, so today it's just going to strictly be based off of intraday price action. So with this market dropping here, it's going to be based off of intraday price action, seeing the price action on the Qs along with SPY within the first 10 to 15 minutes, and looking at the reaction that we have off of your Monday's highs. And then for the rest of the names, we're just going to keep an eye out on the first 10 to 15 minutes as well, primarily looking for relative strength or relative weakness, because now I'm a little bit more interested to play the downside on some of these names if it can show a little bit more weaker price action. So for Nvidia, 179.50s, and then we also have AMD. I like to see the reaction that we have off 179. I already kind of went over this, but Apple 230.50. And then we also have your previous day highs, and then the rest of the tickers. Let me kind of scan over some other names here as well. Let me look at Palantir. Hood showing some weakness. So Hood yesterday dropped with the overall market. This one still very overextended here in the higher time frames, but for Hood now, this is the first sign of, I wouldn't say bearish price action, but a sign of momentum slowing down here on the higher time frames, similar to what it did back here. Once it broke underneath its previous candle. So for Hood, we do have this gap fill towards the downside as well. But if you do want to look for a potential continuation lower, underneath your previous day lows is in play for Hood for a short position. Just based off of yesterday's price action plus news, I actually would be interested for a move lower underneath your previous day lows for a push down in towards your 105. So we'll keep an eye out on Hood for a potential continuation lower. And then for other tickers, MU, a little bit of a mean reversion. Some other names that have a little bit of relative weakness is something like HIMS, where we can expect some more continuation lower. So for something like HIMS, this one's been weak all week, plus bad news on the higher time frames. If you can get a pop, you could be looking for the trade down in towards your 46 here and below. Okay. Yeah, that's about it. So at least coming to today, I don't have too much here on the higher time frames. I don't have any main watches coming to today here as well, just because of that news that we had with core PPI. You can see some buyers are kind of stepping in here off your Monday's highs, but we'll see what shapes up coming into market open since we've had a huge candle. So we'll have a decent amount of volatility, and most likely by the time market comes, once by the time market does open, it could change. But at least for today, I already had the levels set here on the major indices along with some of these tech stocks as well. So we'll just keep an eye out on the reaction coming into today off those key levels. We're going to come into the market with no bias, so we're open to trading both the long side and the short side. I personally like to see the hold above your Monday's highs if you do want to see a potential bounce here on the overall indices. So that is going to be it for me today. I'm going to get ready for market open here now. If you guys did enjoy that, appreciate if you guys drop me a like and sub. If you guys do want to join the watch list, that always is in the description below as well. Awesome. I'm going to call it here. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys all tomorrow morning. All right. Take care, everyone. Peace.